interesting is, obviously all of these topics about Kickstarter are going to overlap to a certain degree. And, when we talk about the things that attract us to a Kickstarter, we are in a way belying what the mistakes are to avoid and what the advice is to heed. But I think all of us have some interesting perspectives on how we can do these things. So I'm actually going to let Chris Moyer start the topic on this one. I want to hear what he has to say. Being a contributor as a photographer who takes a lot of photographs for campaigns, and also as a backer, as a person who's backed a lot of campaigns and isn't really a creator per se, but has an interesting perspective and can offer an interesting perspective on this.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't mention it earlier, but I have 122 backings of playing cards. So definitely have been exposed to a lot on Kickstarter over the years. And coming from the perspective of a collector, it's really for me seeing the details that are needed to give me the confidence to back a campaign. So there's nothing worse for me than when I get to a great cover image or something that attracts me. I'm like, oh, that looks like it could be a cool deck. I click on it, and then the campaign details are just extremely sparse. So I've seen some people that, like, maybe they designed a great tuck and they've got a couple of cool chords, but is that really all you're going to show me? As I start to scroll down and you don't have like all of the chords, or you don't have all of the details, or to me, it makes it look like, have you really thought this through? Have you really worked this all out completely? Or do you just have this like one great piece of art that's kind of a concept and you're going to figure it out from here? Because that's already a red flag to me. Like, am I going to want to pursue this with you? Do I trust you to kind of figure this out along the way? Maybe, maybe not. It better be pretty good if you're going to give me some weak campaign details. Along the same lines, one of the most important for a lot of people is who's printing the deck. Who are you using to manufacture with? And I've seen a lot of campaigns not list that, or say they're kind of still exploring those possibilities. And I think you two both fully understand this. If somebody's still figuring that out while their campaign's going on, like, who knows how long it's going to take to fulfill that, right? Like, ideally, a lot of these creators are already well into those conversations when the campaign launches. So you know that they've kind of already laid that groundwork to proceed forward, as if they're assuming it is going to fund and it is going to be successful. I like to see like, hey, this is the direction we're already headed. Sure, I understand that a pivot may be needed depending on what's going on with various printers and things like that, but not divulging those details up front is a little crazy to me. And then the last thing, something near and dear to my heart, real photography. I think if I'm backing a campaign, I totally understand that like a lot of people are going to need to use renders of the artwork and everything, but there are so many resources and ways of also making prototypes, even if they're not a final version of things. To me, if I see that a person has gone through the process of taking their deck, making a prototype, and then taking real photos of it, I feel like they're more serious about that project. I feel like this is a person that's like absolutely pursuing making it a reality. If you've only made renders, like it could in there, like how confident am I that you're going to produce a final product? So I love it when somebody takes the time to take and make prototypes, even if they don't have all the foils and all of the details, but to make those, see how the artwork's showing up, and then take some real photos of them. So obviously, I'm definitely partial on this topic, given that I love taking all of these photos. But like, take the time to do that. I think backers really appreciate that you had those made.
Great, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I'll hit on things from a creator standpoint, and really focus on the best advice versus the biggest mistake. The main point I want to make here is you got to figure things out from the start. Get it all figured out before you start your campaign. Similar to what Chris was saying. And what that means from a creator standpoint is you got to have the artwork finished. Don't be designing your campaign or your product during the campaign or after the campaign. The artwork's got to be finished. If you're designing after the campaign, you're already in trouble. I think that's first and foremost. The second thing is get all your quotes and your prices figured out before you start your campaign. And what I do is I start with a big wish list of add-ons and things I can have in the campaign. Then I go get quotes on those things. You're going to get some crazy quotes and prices, and you got to whittle your list down, edit that list, get it down to just the things that are most important for your campaign, the things that you really want to get out to the backers. That's kind of how I look at it. But get all that done up front. Edit your list. And then, of course, the basic is, set your funding goal based on what you need to create the product. And at the end of the campaign, what you should be doing is only getting your final counts and placing your order, because everything's figured out before the campaign launches. That's kind of what I would say is the best advice I can give on these campaigns.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. I think being clear and having clarity with what your campaign is and what people can anticipate or can expect to have. Chris did a fantastic job with this image here over my shoulder, because he's showing people right off the top, like, hey, this is what you can expect. This is going to be red hot foil stamped, and the edges are going to be red gilded, and there's a numbered seal, and he's pointing out these things. And you can either do it in this very explicit way, or you can do it with a combination of photographs and text. But really, it's important to make sure that you communicate exactly what your campaign is, and have a very clear communication of that with the people that are aspiring to back it. The other, I think thing that's really important with regards to mistakes that a lot of creators make is underestimating the work that entails releasing a Kickstarter campaign. I mean, it is an incredible amount of work. You have, not only do you have to have a design idea, a concept, but you have to have it executed by a designer or design it yourself. And that is a very lengthy process. In my experience, can last up to 2 years in some cases, where I have been working on a deck with a designer for 2 years. Granted, there's always things that happen and pop up in the middle of the process. It's never a 8-hour-a-day process, but these things can take a long time, and a lot of that time helps in being able to evaluate the project, right, and be able to look at it and see it clearly with fresh eyes, because you've stepped away from it for a couple of weeks, right? But understanding what it takes to create a project, and not just the project itself, but what happens after. You've got, fulfillment, you've got to do surveys, you got to make sure that people get their customer service. There are a lot of things that are associated and carry on with a campaign way past the day you fund. I mean, it is like an incredible list of checklist of things to kind of take care. So really, you have to take a lot of time and a lot of energy to figure that stuff out, because it's really important. And as far as like mistakes that I see creators make, I think it all kind of stems from the same spot. Earlier, I put up this the House of Whispers stuff here, because I love this campaign. I love the art. I think, number one, it's Wittick. I mean, I think he's a brilliant designer. Number two, Keller is a friend that has been friendly with me, and he actually lives in the same state that I live. He's a guy that's done good work. He's a magician. He's got a following, but for some reason, this campaign was only able to raise $28,000 despite all of those things going for it. And I wondered, and in my mind, I wondered why. Because you have a campaign that's just, really well designed. But I think, and Chris spoke to this, the presentation of the campaign was wanting. There were elements about the presentation of the campaign that I felt that if it had been treated a little bit differently, it would have potentially boosted his success far greater than what they were able to have. So if I were to give advice to a new Kickstarter an aspiring Kickstarter producer, I would say, yeah, it take a lot of care into figuring out how you want to present the deck. Sometimes renders aren't enough. It's like Chris mentioned, like sometimes real photography isn't enough. Like these images are great, but they lack, this particular image that we're looking at on screen here. It's a beautiful tuck case, but without the embossing and the detail and the reflections on the foil and the ambience created by, and even the texture of the paper, it's really very, very important to make sure that you do everything you can. This is one of the few pictures on the campaign that was actually a picture of a physical product. And as you can see, it's not, it's taken with a cell phone. It's just not to the level of what you would want. And I think it ends up hurting the campaign because the artwork, like you see here, is just gorgeous. This is the Wormwood campaign, and Wormwood is notorious for doing things like above and beyond. Like there's GIFs and animations, and they will take, they have a whole media team, right, that just dedicates their time to taking photographs. Chris took some pictures for this campaign, and they had like 30, people working on the different ways of how to present their campaign. And I think they did a beautiful job, and it's evident in the amount of money that they were able to bring in, but again, when you have a real picture, it's worth 1,000 words, right? Like the cliche. I mean, you can see the texture, you can see the detail, you can see the attention that goes into creating something. And I think that's really very important for an aspiring creator to do with his project and getting it out for the first time. So let us know in a comment below what you guys think. Before we Jackson had a good point here. The biggest factor is the story you're telling, which is another aspect we didn't really touch on, but telling a story is very important too, right? Does your campaign tell a story? Is there is there a lore to it? Is there something that's going to speak to more than just being a deck of cards, that when you get it, is it an experience? And that's something I, as a TheGentlemanWake, as a brand, have tried very hard to do, all along. Umberto agrees. And backing a campaign and having a good video and having, a nice write-ups that people are going to look at pictures of, before anything else, but having the story there just makes those pictures more important and more valuable. Anybody else got anything else they wanted to add?
I'll just say, tell the story in visuals though, right? I mean, you don't want to tell a story with, 2,000 words.
Right.
Use your pictures wisely.
You want
your pictures to tell the stories.
Yeah, that's a piece of advice I would definitely give, is make sure your campaign is 85% photographs.
That's right.
I think you'll do much better.
If I could add on one little point to that too,
sure.
and that just reinforces. I know we've said a lot about how important photography is to all of this, but the same thing goes with my photography. I was just working with someone recently, and in their brief for their photography, they had all of these ideas of props and things. And at the end of the day, I had to come back to them and say, no, I think we should do it this way. And here's why. Because the photos, when it comes to storytelling, they evoke a vibe, a mood, an emotion, all of those things. And so it's important to complement the deck in such a way, not to just cram all of these other ideas and props and things that you think might make sense with it. But it's like, you've got to tell the story with the photos as well.
Yeah, and even in the deck itself, right? Like the Beetlebacks is on screen here is a good example of that. Like, the whole premise of the deck is basically the story of an entomologist who becomes a beetle, and that's kind of like telling that story too, and having that Kafka-esque kind of influence. But anyway, that's a long segment to basically say, work on your Kickstarter campaigns.
A lot of work in that. Yeah.
Just make sure you put in the work, and I'm sure they'll do well. Let us know in a comment below if you agree with us, what you think the biggest pitfalls that Kickstarter creators fall into, and what you think the best advice you would give them as a backer, potentially as a creator yourself. What would you say to those creators out there who are trying to make Kickstarter campaigns, about what the best way to go about it is? We're going to be shooting another Deal Me In episode. Episode number 3 will be happening on the 5th of February. Am I right, guys? 5th of February. 5th of February. Yep. We're going to do it at a little later at 8:30 p.m. So come by and join us and be a part of that, and we'll hope to see you there. I think we're going to be tackling some cool topics as well. Are actually going to be broaching a little bit into the subject of AI, which I think is a hot button controversial topic in the world of design. We're going to have some thoughts on that. In fact, if you have any ideas for topics, please leave them below. We'd love to read them. And we will catch you next time.